Take a look at how this man makes his money. He saw the upper class enjoying $1,000 meals while still shortchanging their employees, so he quickly pretended to pick up a coin beside a rich guy. Is this yours? Yes. As he handed it back, he accidentally spilled the man's wine and kept apologizing. While helping wipe him clean, he discreetly snatched his wallet. Then, as he grabbed his hat to leave, he also slipped the man's car key into his pocket. Once outside, he pressed the key fob and found a convertible parked on the street. He floored the gas and drove off, using the rich man's identity to book a 5-star hotel and splurge freely on someone else's dime. This was none other than the master con artist who strikes fear in the wealthy, Mickey. Mickey's team all possessed top-tier grifting skills. Recently, they set their sights on a wealthy woman named Stacy, who had been profiting from skimping on construction materials. The team decided it was time to teach her a lesson. Knowing Stacy was into investments, Morgan disguised himself as a wealthy investor and went to a restaurant. He left a doctored newspaper at the reception and sat beside her, using investment jargon to catch her attention. The two hit it off. Morgan claimed his advisor helped him multiply his earnings just last month. Stacy was skeptical and asked a staff member to bring her that day's paper. Sure enough, the investment expert in the article was Mickey himself. She was intrigued. With the bait taken, Morgan handed her a business card, inviting her to a dinner party. Naturally, Stacy wouldn't miss this opportunity. Back at the hideout, Morgan hired 8 background actors to play along that evening. Later, Stacy and her assistant arrived. Morgan introduced her to Mickey, and after the party, they got down to business. Stacy said, "I'm new to investing, but I trust you. I'll put in $1 million first. If this works, I'll invest more." Mickey, impressed by her generosity, replied, "No problem, come to my office tomorrow and we'll discuss the details." Since it was a large sum, Mickey needed to prove he had credibility. Step 1, find a convincing office. The next day, Morgan walked into a skyscraper and threw a lit match into a trash can, causing a small fire. While the security guards rushed to deal with it, he sneaked into the building. He posed as an electrician and planted a signal transmitter in the stock trading room. Then, he picked a vacant office, broke in, and impersonated the building manager by calling reception. There was a fire earlier. Safety inspectors will come escort them to the 6th floor. Just then, Mickey arrived, posing as a safety inspector, and easily made it upstairs. Morgan explained, "The transmitter I installed will feed us real-time stock tips just before the prices rise. We'll show Stacy what you can do." Soon after Stacy arrived, Morgan made an excuse to leave the room and hid in the restroom, calling Mickey. Mickey acted as if he was receiving insider info, urgently ordering his assistant to buy stocks. Instantly, the price surged. He repeated this with another stock, and once again, a minute later, the price soared. Stacy was stunned. This guy was the real deal. Mickey said, "I can help you invest, but I want 20% of the profits." Stacy nodded but had one condition. "You must also invest $1 million into the same project, that way I'll feel secure." Mickey replied confidently, "Not a problem." The next day, both arrived with $1 million each. Morgan placed 2 briefcases beside them. Mickey began faking a stock transaction. Stacy told her assistant to take her belongings back to the hotel and return for her. As the assistant left, she accidentally dropped a bag. Moments later, another team member entered and, as instructed, took both briefcases to deposit at the bank, actually handing them off to Morgan. As time ticked by, Stacy excused herself to go to the restroom. Mickey waited, but she never returned. Looking down, he saw her running away. Realizing something was wrong, Mickey and Morgan rushed after her, only to discover the cash in the briefcases was fake. They'd been conned. The dropped bag from earlier, a setup. It was a classic bait and switch to swap Stacy's real cash for fakes. "I give up. This is insane. We just got conned ourselves." At the same time, Stacy gleefully brought back Mickey's briefcase, thinking she'd scored big, but as soon as she opened it, both she and her assistant were stunned. The entire stack was fake, a gang of scammers scamming each other. Before they could make sense of what had just happened, a group of thugs working for Billy stormed in, demanding, "When are you paying up?" Turns out, Stacy and her assistant Danny had previously sold Billy a classic car, but after he paid, he realized the car didn't even have an engine. Stacy tried to explain, "Give me a few more days, I promise I'll get the money." But Billy wasn't buying it this time. "Today you'll learn your lesson." Right at that moment, Mickey and Morgan appeared, dressed as mobsters. Billy's crew paused, confused. Morgan looked at Stacy and said coldly, "She's the one we've been looking for." Billy, irritated at their arrogance, snapped, "Those 2 are mine." Mickey calmly responded by ordering Morgan to eliminate them. Bang, bang, 2 gunshots silenced the room. Billy was dumbfounded. These guys didn't mess around. "Take him out too." "No, please. You can have my money." Billy begged for his life, desperate to pretend nothing had happened. Mickey stepped forward and said, "I'm in a hurry, let's not waste time on petty business." Billy backed off immediately, apologizing profusely. Once Mickey's crew walked out, he nodded to the victims on the ground. Stacy and her assistant Danny got up completely unharmed. It was all part of the plan. When Morgan got close earlier, he had secretly planted blood packs on them, faking the shooting to fool Billy. Now everything was out in the open. Stacy was not some wealthy investor. Mickey was not a stock market expert. They both knew Albert, the man who had introduced Stacy and Danny to Mickey's team. From now on, they would be part of the same crew, a stronger and more dangerous con artist syndicate. And the next unlucky target. Mickey called a team meeting. This time, the target was Chris, a shady businessman. Along with his partner Kevin, Chris had swindled countless people, especially gullible inventors, leaving them broke. Mickey's plan: give them a lesson they'd never forget. Let the game begin. First move: Stacy staged a phone call near Kevin's usual hangout, loudly dropping the keyword New London Media. Her coffee cup had the same logo. So did the nearby billboards, all carefully planted to catch Chris and Kevin's attention. The two crooks wondered, is New London Media really that big now? They arranged a meeting with director Mickey of the fictional company to discuss a potential partnership. Stacy pitched the idea. Our security system is top of the line. With our tech, you won't need insurance for any famous artwork. That saves a fortune. You just sit back and collect. Chris, seeing dollar signs, agreed instantly. Let's run some tests. If it checks out, we'll pay whatever you ask. Later, Chris and Kevin held a press conference. We've got the most advanced security system in the world. If anything goes wrong, we'll cover 100% of the losses. It caught the attention of wealthy collectors. One billionaire even handed them a painting worth tens of millions to safeguard. Chris and Kevin raked in a fortune. When Mickey showed up to collect his share, they pulled a fast one. Who are you? Do we know you? Same old tricks. But what they didn't realize, this was exactly what Mickey had planned. His real objective was to convince the billionaire to cancel the contract, then steal the painting and force Chris and Kevin to repay everything, pushing them to financial ruin. But there was a catch. The security system was too advanced. It used an ultra-sensitive mesh of microchips embedded behind the painting. Even moving it a single millimeter would trigger the alarm. With their current skills, they couldn't steal it. Would they have to give up? Mickey racked his brain, then came up with a brilliant plan. They disguised themselves as tourists, scouting the entire gallery layout. That night, they picked the main door lock and slipped inside. Morgan infiltrated the control room and froze the surveillance footage, replacing it with still images. Then Stacy and Danny headed to the security office, pumping knockout gas inside. A few minutes later, the guards collapsed. The team regrouped in front of the priceless painting. But the question remained, how can they steal it without triggering the alarm? The next day, when the gallery manager arrived, he discovered something shocking: the priceless painting had vanished. He couldn't believe his eyes and immediately called Chris and Kevin. Both men stood there, stunned. How could the most advanced security system fail? Chris turned to the manager. You guys have insurance, right? Everything's insured, except the one painting your company guaranteed. Chris and Kevin were financially doomed. Just then, Mickey showed up. Chris assumed he came to gloat, but Morgan pulled out a photo, one showing Mickey standing next to the missing painting. Clearly, they had the painting. Chris threatened to call the police. Mickey shrugged. Even if I go to jail, you two are still paying every last dime in damages. Panicked, Chris asked, what do you want? Mickey replied, the security system doesn't belong to you. You're going to sign it back over to the original inventor, now. Chris quickly signed. But Mickey wasn't finished. Send $1 million to my account, and this ends here. Chris hesitated. Mickey smirked. You can lose 1 million or 10, your choice. Chris had no option. He wired the money. Where's the painting? Want the honor of finding it yourself? Morgan picked up a metal rod. Kevin thought he was about to attack someone, but instead, Morgan walked up to a wall and smashed it open. The fake wall cracked apart, and behind it was the untouched painting. Chris and Kevin froze. No alarms had gone off because the painting had never been stolen. The night before, after knocking out the guards, Mickey's team drove in a delivery truck, then constructed a false wall to hide the painting. The photo of Mickey with the artwork. Photoshopped. Chris exploded. I've conned hundreds of people, and this is the first time I've been scammed. You'll pay for this. Mickey didn't even look back. He and his crew simply walked out. Yes, they were con artists, but unlike others, they used their cons to serve justice. That same day, a rich man named Joey showed up at their base. Arrogantly, he said, the money I make in a month is enough for you guys to live on for years. The team took notice. A new fish just walked into the net. They decided to teach him a lesson. What they didn't know was that Joey was Chris's bait. After losing $1 million to Mickey, Chris had been seething. He began recruiting the rich people Mickey had scammed, planning an elaborate payback. Chris declared, I don't care who you are, if you took my money, I'll make sure you regret it. Joey spent months tracking down Mickey's crew. Eventually, he infiltrated their circle. Morgan invited Joey to a card game. During the game, Danny casually mentioned, I've got a new investment that's doubling returns. Joey leaned in. What's the business? Need funding. I'm so broke I only have money left. Danny smirked. It's a little shady but very stable. The more you put in, the more you get back. Joey took the bait. The next day, they met for a formal discussion. Joey said, I've got 4 million, I'll invest 1 million first. If this works, I'll drop the other 3 later. Mickey smiled. Then sit back and watch the profits roll in. They were surprised at how easily Joey was reeled in. But now they had a dilemma, should they grab the million and vanish or fake returns to pull in the rest? Mickey made the call, big risks bring big rewards, that's how masters play the game. The team scraped together everything they had to match Joey's $1 million. They met at a designated drop point, handed over the cash. Joey checked it, no issues. Mickey was about to move forward with phase 2. But Joey said, I'm busy these days, let's talk later. Then he just walked away. Panic set in, did they just lose $1 million for real? Nearby, Chris watched and smirked. He brought a group of rich elites into the restaurant to confront Mickey. Grinning, Chris asked, how's the partnership going? Mickey looked confused. Chris leaned in, gloating. Feels good, doesn't it? Getting scammed for once. Today, I'll collect with interest. You really thought stealing from me would go unpunished. Then he laid out his revenge plot. Mickey stood up and said, you done? What? Oh, we're just getting started. Because I'm staying right here to watch you fall apart. To everyone's surprise, Mickey just smiled and said, it's over, gentlemen. Chris was dumbfounded. Seeing Mickey and his crew smirking, he scoffed. You're still laughing, I already took your money. Right then, Joey walked up and said plainly, the money's gone. Chris spun around, furious. Who took it? That's when he realized something wasn't right. Mickey calmly stepped forward. Allow me to explain. At first, Mickey had no idea Chris was plotting against him. But Chris, in a bold move, put out ads in news stories reaching out to wealthy people Mickey had previously conned. That's when Albert, a member of Mickey's team, saw the ad and Mickey sprang into action. They hired actors to pose as rich marks and fed them into Chris's little trap. With a mole inside, Mickey learned every step of Chris and Kevin's plan. The final phase was getting to Joey, and who better to reel him in than Stacy? She seduced Joey so thoroughly he began fantasizing about vacationing with her, but just as he stuffed cash into the car's trunk, Stacy floored the gas and left him standing there. Chris asked bitterly, if you knew everything, why didn't you just take the money and run? Mickey smirked. Because then I wouldn't get to see you look like this. Chris had no comeback, he was completely defeated. Even among con men there's always a bigger fish. From that moment on, Chris stayed far away from Mickey's crew. Now, the next mark, a solid gold tiger statue, encrusted with thousands of precious gems, a true masterpiece listed in the Guinness World Records, and yet someone wanted to sell it. That man was Benny, heir to a massive fortune, but now, broke. His great-grandfathers will strictly forbid selling the golden tiger. So Mickey's crew decided to lend a helping hand. After digging around, they learned Benny had a major weakness for women. Stacy struck first. She staged a car crash to trigger Benny's alarm system. He stormed outside, but the moment he saw her stunning figure, instant attitude change, no problem at all, if you like it, take the car. They hit it off quickly. Soon, Benny invited her inside to show off the golden tiger. After a bit of bragging, Stacy excused herself. I've got a party to attend, gotta run. Benny hastily handed her a business card, hoping to join her later. The bait was taken. Mickey hired actors to throw a fake party that very night. Benny showed up right on time. Stacy introduced him to Albert, while Mickey was in the corner, covering diamonds with black cloth. Curious, Benny asked, what are you guys doing? Mickey replied, I'm a legal consultant. I help small businesses make certain, unsellable, items disappear and then collect the insurance. Benny was wary. So basically stealing, sorry, not interested. But then he added, the golden tiger costs me a fortune in insurance every year. If you can make it disappear, I'd be grateful. That was all Mickey needed. To prove their skills, they got to work. Morgan disguised himself as a tourist, using a camera and a scanning device to analyze the exhibit's security. Back at HQ, they reviewed the footage and discovered no blind spots. Once the gallery closed, no one could get in. Morgan crafted a custom remote-controlled vehicle. The operation began. Danny posed as a janitor, sweeping the floor. Morgan entered as a casual tourist. Danny distracted the guards just long enough for Morgan to slip the mini vehicle beneath a cabinet. That night, once the building closed, Morgan activated the RC unit. The tiny vehicle dodged lasers, timed its movements with the cameras, and navigated its way to the golden tiger. Once there, it extended a tiny arm and stuck a card on the tiger's nose, then quietly retreated. The next morning, a guard noticed the card and handed it to Benny. On it, just one sentence, there's nothing we can't do. Benny was stunned. These people were the real deal. He called Mickey immediately. If you can make the tiger disappear, I'll pay what it's worth. But on one condition, it can't happen inside my gallery. The rest is up to you. Thinking fast, Mickey told Benny, send the golden tiger statue to the museum. We'll handle the rest. With tens of millions in insurance money at stake, Benny agreed immediately. Mickey posed as an inspection agent and visited the museum. He asked the manager to inspect the room where the statue would be kept. But when he saw the security system, even Mickey was stunned. It was so tight not even a fly could escape. Once the statue was locked in, stealing it would be nearly impossible. But this was Mickey's crew. Impossible just meant they'd find another way. The next day, the museum came to pick up the statue. The manager inspected it thoroughly, all clear. Danny covered it with a cloth and sealed the crate. Under heavy escort, the golden tiger was transported to the museum. The exhibit room was immediately sealed off, no access whatsoever. The following morning, when the manager opened the vault, she froze. The golden tiger had vanished. She called Benny in a panic. "The tiger, it's gone." Benny pretended to be outraged, demanding answers from the museum and insurance company, but as soon as he hung up, he burst into laughter. Time to cash in again. When they reviewed the security footage, they saw two people carrying the statue out overnight, but how did they bypass such extreme security? Everyone was baffled. Mickey soon called Benny to request his payment. Benny transferred the money right away. Still, how did they do it? Here's how. Morgan had commissioned a life-sized replica of the tiger made from ice, which they hid behind a curtain. While Danny was covering the real statue, he triggered Benny's car alarm to distract the staff. In that moment of chaos, they swapped the real statue with the ice replica and smuggled the real one out. Later, Morgan disguised himself as an HVAC technician and cranked the temperature in the vault to the maximum. The ice statue melted overnight, and a sponge-lined floor absorbed all the water, leaving no trace behind. The statue seen being carried away on footage, just a toy. Because Benny insisted it couldn't be stolen from his house, and because the museum system was airtight, this sleight of hand trick was the only viable route. But Benny didn't laugh for long. The police showed up at his door. "Sir, we received a report linking you to insurance fraud. The golden tiger is in your swimming pool." Turns out Mickey played into Benny's greed just to teach him a brutal lesson. This time, Benny lost everything. The money, the statue, his freedom. He ended up in jail. And the takeaway: if you want to earn it honestly. Trying to get something for nothing will cost you everything. Meanwhile, Albert was still in prison, just 3 days away from being released on bail. But trouble came knocking. A new prison warden, Sarah, had arrived. And under her reign, no one had ever been granted bail. Albert was a key player in the crew, so Mickey decided to take action. He learned the parole board consisted of 3 members: Judge Hemmings, Prosecutor Sam, Warden Sarah. Only 2 out of 3 votes were needed to secure Albert's release. Since Sarah was ruthless, Mickey aimed to outwit the other 2. Years ago, Hemmings had presided over a high-profile gold heist case. The mastermind was sentenced to 15 years, but he secretly offered Hemmings a cut of the gold if the sentence was reduced. Hemmings agreed and cut it to 10 years. But when the thief was finally released, he was mysteriously killed by a train. The gold, gone. Mickey suspected Hemmings never stopped thinking about it. So the crew's next mission: make the thief, David, come back to life. Morgan forged a fake autopsy report. Mickey wheeled David's body into the morgue, warning staff, "Don't open the bag, the cause of death is Ebola." Then he led the staff away to process paperwork. While no one was watching, the body bag suddenly unzipped. Stacy climbed out, located David's original prison file, and replaced it with the fake one. Mickey disguised himself as a journalist and approached Judge Hemmings. He handed him a business card and said, "David faked his death years ago to fool the police. He changed his name, started a new life." Hemmings dismissed him coldly and sent him away. But after Mickey left, the judge quietly slipped the card into his pocket. Mickey knew the bait had been taken. Sure enough, the next day Hemmings visited the morgue, looked up David's case file, and found the cause of death highly suspicious. He quickly called Mickey in for a meeting. "I want to reopen the case, for justice," he claimed. But Mickey knew the truth, it was all about the missing gold. Hemmings asked Mickey where he got the intel. Mickey replied, "David had an illegitimate daughter, you might want to ask her." So they went to see her. And as expected, the woman who opened the door was Stacy. She had everything prepped in advance. When Hemmings asked where her father was, she acted scared. "My father's been dead for years." Hemmings remained skeptical. "If you tell me where he is, I'll give you $1 million. Stacy said flatly, "I want to see the money first." The next day, Hemmings arrived with a suitcase full of cash. Once Stacy confirmed the amount was correct, she handed him a letter. David is actually Albert. After all the scheming, David was still in prison. Hemmings had been completely played. Next up, Morgan. He found Sam, who was currently losing badly at a casino. Morgan approached him and said, "There's a way to beat roulette. If you calculate the speed of the wheel and the ball, you can predict where it'll land." Sam waved him off. "No one can calculate that in seconds." Morgan leaned in. "True, but I've got a device that can. I made so much money I got banned from casinos." "Can I borrow it?" Sam asked. "Sure, but if you win, I get half." Sam agreed. He was nervous as hell. If caught, he could lose more than just money. Suddenly, Danny, posing as security, dragged Sam into an alley. You trying to pull a fast one here? Sam froze. Danny continued. We know who you are. Help our boss secure one parole approval and this whole thing goes away. Sam had no choice, he agreed. Once everything was in place, Mickey rolled up in a limited edition Rolls-Royce to pick up Albert. At the same time, Albert's parole hearing was underway. As planned, Hemmings and Sam both voted in favor. Albert walked free. Outside, Hemmings was waiting. As Albert got into the car, Hemmings asked, "Where'd you get your face done? You look different." Then he demanded Albert take him to the Gold's hiding spot. Albert smiled and drove him to a location. When Hemmings stepped out, he looked around in confusion. It was another prison. Game over. No gold, and he just lost $1 million. Turning around, he saw Albert in the Rolls-Royce speeding off. Hemmings was fuming with rage. Back at the hideout, the crew threw Albert a welcome party. When he learned how much effort they'd gone through to get him out, he laughed. You didn't have to go through all that, I had my own plan ready. Turns out Albert had noticed cat hair on Warden Sarah's clothes, and all the cat pictures in her office. She was clearly a cat lover. So he started running betting games in prison and made a fortune. Then, he put the money in an envelope and made sure Sarah found it. The envelope said, "Donation to Animal Rescue." Sarah's tone changed instantly. Albert then told a heartwarming story, leaving even the crew in tears. Even without Mickey's help, Sarah would have gone easy on him. At the parole hearing, Albert got a unanimous 3-0 approval. Everyone was left saying, "Old foxes play the game best." A man bought a phone but couldn't connect to the internet. He tried to return it, but the store refused, claiming the fine print said, "Only works in Tokyo." A master con artist getting scammed by a phone shop. Not on Mickey's watch. The crew decided it was payback time. After some digging, they found out the owner was Anthony, a young billionaire who got rich off scam tactics like this. And Mickey, he doesn't go easy on people like that. Albert was sent in to approach Anthony. He spoke loudly on the phone. "My invention just succeeded. Next week, I'm announcing it at a press conference. Once it's out, the rich will line up to invest." Just as planned, Anthony took the bait. After ending the call, Anthony approached Albert, trying to strike up a conversation. Albert played it cool and distant. "You've got a long way to go. If you want to be my friend maybe in your next life." Just then, Danny, disguised as Albert's driver, rushed in. "It's 1:45, sir. According to your schedule, you have a meeting with Mr. Gates at 2 o'clock. Anthony's eyes widened. "Gates, as in the stock market guy?" Albert asked casually. "You know him?" "Well, kind of. He doesn't know me though." Albert smiled inside. The bait had been taken. Back at his office, Anthony started digging. Sure enough, he found an article online about Albert's upcoming press conference. But what he didn't know, Mickey had created all of those fake websites. Anthony thought to himself, "No wonder he ignored me." Mickey knew exactly what kind of man Anthony was. There's no way he'd pass up a chance to make millions. The next day, Albert was waiting near a street Anthony frequently passed by. They exchanged greetings. This time, Danny accidentally showed up late. Albert snapped, "A minute of my time is worth thousands. You're 30 minutes late, don't bother coming tomorrow, you're fired." Fired right in front of Anthony. Anthony immediately followed Danny to his hotel. "Your boss is a nightmare, you and I click much better, work for me, I'll pay you $500,000 a month." Danny pretended to be shocked, but everything was going according to plan. The next morning, Danny arrived at Anthony's company as scheduled. Anthony announced, "I'm making you a director." Danny hesitated. "I'm not qualified." Anthony waved it off. "Salary is based on title, if I say you're qualified, you are." But before officially starting, Anthony asked Danny to prove his worth, starting with, "Tell me what you know about Albert's clients." Danny replied, "I don't eavesdrop on my boss. But I do know he's meeting a major investor at 11 this morning. This afternoon, he's visiting a university, probably where the project originated." Anthony knew he had to act fast. He dragged Danny to a restaurant. Meanwhile, Albert was meeting with the supposed investor. When Anthony entered, he saw the investor greet Albert enthusiastically. "My wife is a huge fan, could you sign this for her?" Albert smiled, signed, and walked off. Anthony was floored. A big-time investor working with Albert. This project must be worth a fortune. Then, things got even crazier. Albert met with a royal duke. Anthony was completely blown away, having no idea it was all an elaborate setup. Afterwards, Anthony told Danny to take him to the university lab. He was determined to secure the project before Albert returned. At the same time, Mickey and Stacy posed as investigators and visited the professor. "We received an anonymous tip that you falsified exam results. If this is true, it'll go on your permanent record, but we're on the same side. If you revise the results before the official audit, we'll let this slide." Frightened, the professor rushed back to review the exams. And just like that, Mickey took over the lab. Morgan acted as the university administrator. Stacy pretended to be the lead professor. The fake project documents were laid out across the desk. Soon after, Anthony arrived, pretending to be one of Albert's assistants. He asked about the data. Stacy confidently explained. This invention is groundbreaking. It eliminates 100% of harmful insects. The global pesticide market is worth $3 billion. Once this launches, it'll disrupt the entire industry. No chemicals, completely eco-friendly. Anthony asked to see the actual prototype. Morgan said, "It's highly confidential. To acquire the patent and research results, you'll need to pay $1 million. Anthony pushed. "If you wait for Albert to fund it, you'll lose a week. Give it to me now, I'll transfer the money immediately." Morgan stayed firm. "I have principles. $2 million, you say the word and the money's in your account. I need to consult my colleagues. They don't need to know, no consultation needed. Consultation is for losers. Ambitious people just need to follow the money." Morgan pretended to hesitate, then extended his hand. "This afternoon, I'll have someone deliver the product and all related documents. Here's to a successful partnership." After the deal was sealed, Danny asked, "So do I start work tomorrow?" Anthony chuckled coldly. "You actually believed that? I don't trust a driver who'd sell out his own boss." Classic backstabber. Once the $2 million hit the account, Mickey made sure Anthony didn't walk away empty-handed. Mickey, dressed as a delivery man, brought a special package. Anthony opened it and stared in disbelief. "This is worth $2 million, there must be some hidden feature, right?" His assistant picked up the manual. "Place the insect in your left palm. Smack both hands together, repeat until the pest is gone." Anthony was speechless. $2 million for a glorified fly swatter. He once sold a fake phone for $2,000. Now Mickey sells him a bug zapper for $2 million. To beat the scammer, you've gotta out-scam the scammer. Next target, a predatory lending company run by a woman named Katie. She built her fortune by exploiting desperate debtors, causing countless families to fall apart. Legally, she was untouchable. She had money, but no status. Mickey had an idea. Sell her a royal castle and let her feel like nobility. He sent Katie a fancy invitation. Seeing that it came from a castle, she was ecstatic. Mickey rented a real castle, and Morgan recruited actors to play aristocrats. When Katie arrived at the party, Morgan, posing as the castle owner, greeted her warmly. Katie said, "I own shares in your company." Morgan's smile vanished. "You, a commoner." Turning to Mickey, he snapped, "Why would you let someone like this in here?" Katie was humiliated. After the event, Katie saw Mickey, pretending to be the butler, on the phone. She offered him a ride home. To thank her, Mickey whispered, "If you've got shares in Morgan's company, sell them. He's going bankrupt, only the castle remains." Katie rushed back to her office. Danny connected her call to Stacy, who posed as her assistant. "The stock's tanking." Katie immediately dumped all her shares. She searched online. Sure enough, Morgan's company was facing bankruptcy. Everything had been orchestrated by Mickey. Katie called Mickey. "Thanks for saving me a fortune, free for dinner tonight." That night, Mickey played drunk and started rambling. "My boss is done for. That castle, you could buy it for $1 million. Katie's eyes lit up. "Really? Then I want it." The next day, Mickey set up the sale. Morgan, playing the owner, explained, "This place isn't about money. Selling it for $1 million wouldn't help, the bank would seize it anyway." Katie offered, "Let's sign a contract for $1. Legally, off the record, I'll wire you $1 million. You get the best of both worlds." "That sounds illegal." "Not at all, there'll be no loopholes, I know how this works." They reached an agreement. Katie had one condition: the contract had to be signed inside the castle. That was a problem. The castle was open to tourists, packed with people. Mickey thought fast. He hired actors in hazmat suits to simulate a toxic gas leak. Within minutes, everyone was gone. Katie arrived as scheduled. Mickey and Morgan gave her a tour, then sat down to sign the contract. Morgan handed over a fake title deed. Katie handed over $1 million. After the deal was done, "Get out of my castle," she barked. Katie finally got a taste of what it felt like to look down on others, unaware that she just walked into a trap. Mickey's crew pocketed another $1 million. After they left, Katie changed into her new aristocratic outfit, ready to enjoy her luxurious new life. But just then, the castle manager walked in. Katie snapped, "This is my castle. If you don't leave, I'll call the police." The manager chuckled, opened a door, and said, "This castle is a shared property. It doesn't belong to anyone." Only then did Katie realize she'd been conned. Back at her office, she rushed to call the police. But her assistant pointed to the corner. Mickey's entire crew was already waiting there. "Where's my money?" Mickey calmly replied, "We're here to return the money." He handed her a coin, a single dollar. $1, I gave you $1 million. "No, you didn't, here's the contract. Take a look, $1. Katie was livid. The same legal trick she once used to trap her victims had now come back to bury her. Mickey gave her a taste of her own medicine. Her downfall was her own doing. Next target, a shady gold broker named Luke, known for exploiting elderly clients. But this time, he scammed the wrong person, Albert's girlfriend. The crew wasn't about to let that slide. Morgan declared, "If we don't scam him out of every penny, then I'm a dog." They learned Luke idolized the military. Not long ago, a batch of Libyan gold had gone missing. Perfect bait. Mickey poured his savings into buying one real gold bar, then hired a skilled metalworker to forge 99 fake ones from brass, complete with authentic-looking Libyan stamps. That day, Luke was driving when he hit something. He stepped out to check. Morgan was waiting with a gun. "You wanna die?" "No. Drive, now." Luke obeyed. They drove to an isolated area. Before leaving, Morgan warned, "If you call the cops, I'll come find you." Then, he made sure Luke saw the gold bar peeking from his coat. Luke took the bait. "I deal in gold. If you're selling, I'll buy, top price." Morgan played it cool. Luke handed over his business card, hook, line, and sinker. The next day, Stacy visited Luke. She thanked him for helping Morgan and mentioned she had a stash of gold for sale. Luke asked to verify the quality. She handed him the real bar. He spotted the Libyan stamp. "Jackpot, this gold will sell for a fortune." When he learned there were 100 bars, he was ecstatic. They scheduled a meeting for later that day. Meanwhile, the forger finished crafting the 99 fakes. He told Mickey, "Stay at least 6 meters away, no one can tell the difference." Later, Luke arrived on schedule. As soon as he entered the car, Danny bagged his head. They drove to an abandoned warehouse. When they pulled off the tarp, rows of gold bars sparkled under the light. Luke was stunned. He moved forward, but Mickey stopped him. Stacy held out the one real bar. Luke asked, "I need to test this. If it's legit, I'll pay $1 million. Mickey snapped, "This stash is worth $3 million. Morgan stepped in. "We're in danger. Take the million, let's disappear and start over." They bagged Luke's head again and dumped him back at the roadside. Back home, Luke's assistant verified it, 24-karat pure gold, definitely Libyan. Luke called Stacy to set up the transaction. He also contacted a gold buyer. He was about to make $2 million profit. Luke grinned, convinced he was a genius. Unaware, he was already neck-deep in Mickey's trap. On the day of the deal, Morgan loaded the gold into the truck and prepped the laptop for the wire transfer. When Luke arrived at the warehouse, everything was in place until the gold buyers showed up. Mickey quickly raised his gun. Luke stepped in. "They're with me, the buyers." Mickey and Morgan hesitated, then slowly lowered their weapons. Morgan showed the buyers the stash. They immediately handed over a $3 million check. Once verified, their assistant moved to inspect the bars. But Mickey cut them off. "Back off, you get to test the gold after the transfer clears." Luke agreed and began transferring the money. But as soon as the final step completed, the entire warehouse started shaking. Suddenly, a tank rolled in. Mickey yelled, "Run, they're coming for us." Luke panicked. When artillery fire thundered outside, he ran like hell. Later, the buyers dropped Luke off at a safe spot and left. Luke rushed to the bank to cash the check. But the security guard said, "The bank is shut down, no customer service today." Luke froze. "That's a $3 million check, this is the only place I can cash it." Too bad, the deal was toast. He called the buyer's number, but the phone was now in the hands of a homeless man. That's when Luke finally realized he'd been played. The buyers, all part of Mickey's crew, and the tank attack. That was just a daily military drill from the nearby base. Every day at noon, they practiced, which is why Mickey scheduled the meet right then and there. A brilliant trap. And Albert got sweet revenge for his girlfriend. That evening, as the crew celebrated, Luke showed up at their bar. Turns out, when he was blindfolded, he overheard Mickey and Morgan mention this place. Everyone froze, expecting retaliation, but instead, Luke said, "I'm not here to fight, we're all con artists, I respect the hustle. But that buyer scammed me with a fake check, no one's ever conned me like that before. I know you've got military friends, if you help me fake his death, I'll give you $200,000. Here's $100,000 up front." Then he walked out. The crew looked around, stunned. Wait, did we just get another job handed to us? Even after raking in $1 million, who turns down easy money? So Mickey called the fake buyer, asked him to play dead, splashed ketchup all over him, and snapped a few dramatic photos, another $200,000, in the bag. Soon after, a new client appeared, a seasoned thief named Adam. He needed help retrieving a $1 million diamond. Years ago, Adam and his crew robbed a treasury and stole a massive diamond. One by one, his partners were caught. Before Adam was arrested, he buried the diamond in secret. The team thought it sounded easy. Just dig it up, right? But when they saw the spot, they were speechless. It was buried under a police station. Even worse, the diamond belonged to a dangerous crime syndicate. They'd already killed every one of Adam's partners to get it back. Now Adam just wanted to retrieve it and disappear forever. Mickey refused. "We're in it for money, not suicide." But when they returned to the bar, it had been blown up. Mickey was furious. "They made the first move, now we strike back." Adam told them the gang was run by Frank, a hot-headed enforcer. If he didn't recover the diamond, he'd be kicked out of the syndicate. Mickey saw his chance. He sent Danny to retrieve blueprints of the police station, then met with Frank himself. "Give me a little time, I'll get you the diamond." Frank was impressed, but warned, "If I don't see that stone in 24 hours, I'll kill everyone you care about." Frank assigned men to tail Mickey, but that was part of Mickey's plan. To infiltrate the station, they needed supplies. Danny was sent to collect horse manure. Stacy secured a contractor ID. That night, Danny dressed as a homeless man and caused a commotion outside the station. He was quickly arrested and brought inside. While the chaos unfolded, Mickey and Morgan snuck in, opened the ventilation system and dumped the manure inside. The next day, Morgan disguised himself as an electrician and entered the police station. One officer complained, "The cafeteria reeks today." After a quick inspection, Morgan said, "The water pipe's busted, I'll need to dig a new line, the cafeteria will be out of service for now." The officer snapped, "Then fix it fast, nobody can eat with this smell." Morgan called in a construction crew. Using advanced equipment, they pinpointed the diamond's location, then, under a simple work tent, they began jackhammering the floor. After a full morning's work, they finally retrieved the diamond. Once they had it, the crew vanished without a trace. When the cops returned, they were stunned. All that mess for a broken pipe. Meanwhile, Mickey brought the diamond back to Frank. But Frank feigned ignorance. "I don't know what you're talking about. What diamond? I never lost anything." Everyone was confused, except Mickey. It turned out he had Stacy contact a diamond dealer, a close friend of Albert's. That man had gone to Frank earlier and told him, "Mickey is a con artist, he's working with the cops now, he once conned me hard, and I caught it all on camera." Frank instantly understood. No wonder they got in and out of the police station so easily. Back in the present, Frank deliberately spoke in front of Mickey's hidden camera. "I'm an honest businessman, I know nothing about any diamond." Unaware that the camera was embedded in Stacy's earring, Frank warned, "Take the diamond and get out of here, or I'll call the police myself." And so, Mickey walked away with the diamond, while Frank was kicked out of the gang. That was Mickey's trap all along. If Frank took the diamond, it'd be proof of murder, life sentence. If he didn't take it, he'd be expelled from the gang. Frank chose exile over prison. Either way, he lost. Now with the diamond in hand, Mickey and the crew had enough to live comfortably for a long while. Up next, a new con involving a $1 million comic-style painting, nicknamed the comic Mona Lisa. After an auction, Danny asked, "Why don't we just use this for a scam? Spending $1 million on a painting, is your brain fried?" But Mickey said, "I've got it all worked out. If it goes well, we'll make back the $1 million in 3 days, but we'll need some liquid cash first." At the same time, Inspector Fisk received a tip. The bar owner was tied to a notorious con artist crew. She interrogated the bar owner and began staking out the place. Not long after, Mickey and his team returned. As they opened a briefcase full of cash, Fisk jumped out. "You're all under arrest for fraud." She let the victim go, then turned to the crew. "You've got 2 choices. Go to prison or give me the cash. This is what you call public service." Left with no other choice, they handed her the money. As Fisk was leaving, she spotted a briefcase in the corner. Inside, the $1 million painting. Fisk asked, "What are you planning to do with this?" Mickey replied, "It's just a collector's item, fully legal, got receipts." Fisk wasn't buying it. She lit her lighter and said, "Tell me the truth, what's the plan?" Mickey sighed. "When it went up for auction, we swapped the real one for a fake. The fake gets sold publicly, we sell the real one privately." Fisk was impressed. "Brilliant plan, I'll pretend I didn't see it, but I want half the profit." Mickey had no choice but to agree. To ensure nothing went wrong, Fisk decided to join the operation. She accompanied Mickey to visit a master forger. The real and fake paintings looked nearly identical, with only a tiny detail to tell them apart. The con began. Albert and Emma approached 2 potential bidders. Their goal, get them to drive the price up. Emma found a comic enthusiast. The moment he looked up and saw her beauty, he was stunned. Emma smiled and said she was also a comic fan. The man invited her to a comic auction that night. She gladly accepted. On the other side, Albert struck up a conversation with another bidder. They hit it off and agreed to attend the auction together. At the same time, Mickey took Fisk back to the team. After understanding the full plan, Morgan said, "The rest is simple. I'll pose as an electrician and disable the security cameras, then we'll send the real painting for authentication. Once it's verified, we'll have a public viewing. During that time, Danny will use a briefcase to swap the real painting and hang the fake one facing the other way." They brought the authentic painting to the auction site, but on the way, Fisk stopped by the bank to deposit the cash she had confiscated. As she stepped out, someone bumped into her, causing her key to drop. At the auction, Emma and Morgan were already inside. Fisk, trying to avoid suspicion, told them, "Don't talk to me once we're in, I can't be linked to this." When Mickey entered, he was surprised to see that the art authenticator was someone they had scammed in the past. If they handed the painting to him, he'd definitely become suspicious. Mickey suggested aborting the plan, but Fisk, seeing a golden opportunity, said, "Give me the painting, I'll submit it, there won't be any issues." Unaware she had just walked into Mickey's trap, everything proceeded exactly as planned. Once the painting passed authentication, it was placed in the exhibition room. Danny, carrying the briefcase, sneaked into the venue. At that moment, a bunch of balloons conveniently blocked the camera view. By the time the guard removed them, the swap was done. Soon, the official auction began. Emma and Albert played their parts perfectly, hyping the painting as the comic Mona Lisa that must not fall into the wrong hands. Bidding soared to $1.2 million. Albert's target ended up winning the bid. But when the auction manager handed over the check to Fisk, she decided to keep it for herself. "If you try to expose me, I'll use the evidence I have to put all of you in jail." Mickey was furious but had no choice but to play along, letting her walk away. After she left, Mickey sent Albert a one-word text, "Now." Albert immediately put on his glasses and said, "Something's off with this painting. Why is there a ring on the hand? I don't remember the original having that." It was the exact flaw the master forger had added, a way to tell the fake from the original. The buyer quickly called the auction house owner. Meanwhile, Fisk was heading to her car, beaming with pride, when a kid accidentally bumped into her. Emma rushed over to apologize and slyly took the check. Just then, the auction owner caught up to Fisk and dragged her back inside. At the same time, Mickey and Danny left with the real painting. Soon after, police arrived. Fisk declared, "I'm a detective. I was on an undercover mission." But the footage clearly showed her involvement with Mickey's team. The camera didn't capture the moment the painting was swapped because of the balloons, but when they were removed, only Fisk was standing closest to the painting. Police demanded she hand over the check, but it had already vanished. All she had left was the key to her safe deposit box. Recalling the earlier bump, she finally realized she'd been conned. To prove her innocence, she took the police to the forger's workshop, but the place was completely empty. There was no way out. Later, police traced the key to the bank. Inside Fisk's safety deposit box, they found a map of the auction venue. Fisk was shocked. Mickey had somehow cloned her key earlier when she dropped it at the bank. Fisk was devastated. She never should have dug for intel at the bar. Its owner was in on it with Mickey all along. The moment she tried to take down Mickey, he had already laid the perfect trap. They took the $1 million check, they sold the authentic painting for $1 million, and they were back in business. As for Fisk, prison was her only future. This time, Mickey's crew delivered justice, conning a corrupt cop and protecting the public. This is the full summary of Hustle Season 3 and 4. Want us to summarize next season? Drop next in the comments below to let us know. If enough of you are interested, we'll keep going. Thanks for following along. See you next time.
Well, if it all checks out, I can have it done in 20...